Hi, I'm Frank. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of different brake bleeding systems. Now, everybody knows that you can get in, you can pump the brakes, have one person pump the brakes, hold it, while another person cracks the bleeder valve and let the fluid go out, crank it back up again, pump again. The two-person method is been around forever, and a lot of times that can be challenging if you don't have somebody else ready to do that for you. So there have been a number of products on the market that are designed to let the brake bleeding process be a single person. And I'm going to show you three different ones and my favorite. The first is a gravity feed method. It basically has a bottle with a tube. You connect this to the bleeder valve, make sure that this is lower than the bleeder valve. You crack it open and let gravity do the rest for you. That seems to work okay. I'm not a huge fan of it. I love the bottle because it lets me collect all the fluid. A second method is using a Capri vacuum brake bleeder. Now, it's a nice unit. It's the second one that I ended up getting and using. It's okay. Basically, you have the hose that's connected to your bleeder valve. This gets connected to a compressor, and as the compressor is turned on, you push this down, lock it into place. Air rushes through here. As it does, it creates a vacuum in here, and then the bleeder valve, this is connected to the bleeder valve, and when you open it, the vacuum sucks the old brake fluid out. I like this unit. It's pretty nice, but my favorite is the Power Bleeder, and I'll tell you, it is a great unit. For single person bleeding, it's what I use exclusively now. It's a simple device, great concept. Basically, you sort of have a pump sprayer. It's got a gauge on it. You put brake fluid in here, pump it up. The cap goes on your brake reservoir. When you have plenty of pressure here, then all you do is crack the valve open on the bleeder valve, and pressure will push the brake fluid through. Great unit, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I have a 2016 Mercedes GLE. On the driver's side, this plastic piece comes up, revealing the brake reservoir. So now I've gained access to that. For brake fluid, I'm using the Mercedes DOT 4 Plus brake fluid. This is what's called for in the car. In other cars, I will use different fluids. As an example, in my Aston Martin, I use Motul 660. I like that. But for the Mercedes, I think that using the brake fluid that they recommend is my particular choice. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to pour it into the brake bleeder container. Be sure to keep it on a solid surface so that nothing tips over. But now I'm going to go ahead and pour the brake fluid in. Once I open a can of brake fluid, I don't reuse it. I will use the brake fluid once. Brake fluid is hydrophilic, so it attracts water and will get old. So I use what I can, and what I can't I'll throw away. Top goes back on. Now I'll bring it over to the car and undo my brake cap. This screws on just like the brake cap would. make sure it's tight, and now I'm ready to pump this up. This is usually a good pressure to pump the Motive Products power bleeder up to. So now we're ready to bleed the brake. All right, I'm going to take my cap off here. Going to put my wrench on the box end so that I don't round the nut. Going to add my tube there, and now crack it open. And you can see the fluid coming out. You can see some crud in there. So I'm just going to continue bleeding until everything looks nice and clean and fresh. And then we'll tighten everything back up again. My cap is back on, and I'm ready to move to the next one. So the process is the same for all four wheels, obviously. The general accepted protocol is to start with the wheel that's furthest from the reservoir. So since my reservoir is on the driver's side, the first bleeding will be the passenger's rear, then the driver's rear, then the passenger front, and then the driver's front. That way you pretty much are flushing all of the old brake fluid out. And when you go in that particular order, remember that the brake fluid travels further. There's more brake fluid to travel in the passenger's rear. So you're going to have to leave the valve open longer than you will if you're doing the, for instance, the front drivers, because that distance between the reservoir and the brake calipers is far less distance, so there'll be less fluid to come out. All in all, the power bleeder is my favorite. I'll provide a link to that and to the vacuum bleeders below. And it's an easy job. If you can get to it without removing the tires, then great. A lot of times you can. Sometimes you can't, but if you can, there's no reason why you can't bleed. And one last thing, bleeding, usually I would recommend every year or 2 years at the most. I know people have had brakes, never had them bled. They've got 5, 6, 7, 8 years, no problem. But brake fluid is hydrophilic. It will attract water to it. It's a sealed system, so the amount of water you're going to get in is probably negligible, but any water in there, of course, is going to lower the boiling point of the brake fluid, and as it lowers it, then your chance of brake fade starts increasing under hard braking. For round town driving and that sort of stuff, yeah, probably not a big difference, but it's probably a good idea to look at bleeding the brakes at least every other year. The water can also damage some of the components inside the braking system, causing it to rust. So take care of your brakes. They'll take care of you. Bye-bye.